Okay.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Finance and Property Committee. We'll get cracking straight away. Apologies for absence.
None received.
Okay. We've all seen a copy of the minutes. I don't think anything matters arising, but I was wondering if Councillor Pavey could give an update on Paulson's playground, as it's a major project.
Yep, so we went through a period of renegotiation, removing some things and adding some other things. And what we've done is we've split it slightly to get Robbie Butcher, the local surfacing man, to take away the spoil, which actually, believe it or not, took £8,000 out of the bill.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well done, yeah.
Well, and also we can argue the ecological side of that, because they took it all the way back to Leicestershire or somewhere. So they're transporting spoil right across the country. Anyway, in doing that, and Robbie Butcher is obviously going to charge us to do that, but he's charging us £3,800. Plus, this is all plus VAT, I'm not including that in these numbers. So, of the original estimate of 46,000, it's come down to £43,377 plus VAT. And that's to do the whole job. And as I say, I've left Abacus to do the whole job. Terry and I have decided that they'll do the whole job, and the only bit that we'll do locally is to take spoil away. Because Robbie did offer to dig it out as well, but we thought that they would just double count it, because they'll come back and say it wasn't done to their standard and things like that. So his job is simply to take the spoil away, they'll pile it up outside of the playground and drive it away. So £44,377, and I believe the request has gone in.
No, that's my job for today.
Job for today.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments on the minutes of the 15th? I would like to propose as a record, and we'd like second. Members are reminded of the requirement to disclose any interest in relation to items on the agenda when these are discussed. Item 4, Budget and Financial Report. Should have had the Chairman's summary and some associated numbers. I hope the report made some sense. Just like to go through the numbers, the budgets and actuals, just make a few comments, and then so we'll go from there. So if you've got a copy of that budget and actuals, that's up to October. There's a lot of figures here, but I assure you, you won't find a black hole anywhere.
That's what Stephen Hawking said.
So normally we go through the year to date, which is the second column in from the left, and see how we're getting on. Basically, up to October we seem to be trundling along all okay, nothing much to comment on. But this month we've tried to look ahead to see what will happen at the year end. That's March 31st, 25, just to see what the reputation is likely to be. We said last time that we wouldn't do this until the lease with the Harbour Commission was signed. Unfortunately, it's still not signed, but we have included the effects of it within the final column. We've done that because we've looked into each other's eyes and undertaken to sign them the next week or two at the latest. So on that basis, we've included the consequences of that within that final column. So just going through the income, property leases, that's going to go 2,000 over budget in the right way. The 8,000 that because that includes £2,000 from the harbour for the first lease payment. If we look at on the income, if we look at the sales, assume at the moment that we're going to hit budget. At the moment we're well ahead, so I think that's a very conservative claim. If we look at the costs, going further down the page there, the legal bills and the more to come, at the moment we're predicting we'll hit budget because 3,000 of that with, again, the first payment from the harbour. So not certain, but that seems a reasonable estimate. Transport machinery, this is where the big overspend is because of the new vehicle. But if you remember, that was deliberate. And just to remind everybody that at the end of the contract, the 3-year contract, there's no balloon payment or anything like that. We pay 1 month and then the vehicle is ours. So that's what we negotiated at that time. So okay, it's a big hit, but it's going to pay dividends. So in 2.5 years' time, we'll have a vehicle with 3,000 miles on the clock, whatever it is, and it all belongs to us. So that's overspent. If we looked at just worth mentioning, if you look at the NNDR, that's the business rates, out of the blue, Tendering sent us an invoice for £3,000 back monies for an area of land by where the Scout Hut is on Lower Park. They say that Tracy challenged that aggressively and they've withdrawn the invoice. So.
Well done.
And also say on the lease administration, that's the Fen Rights service that they used to offer. Again, obviously, Tracy found a few errors. So as a consequence, we've got 2,000 of past errors back, and they've also made a £500 contribution, which is said as a reduction in their fee, but I think it's an apology basically. So, so that was a good effort, really, I thought. The big one is salaries. The pay award has just been agreed, and Tracy mentioned this a little bit later on the agenda, but it looks at this stage as if the original budget we are within. So with the back pay and everything else, we're still just about within the budget. So that's pretty well. So the effect of all that is that if you take the projected income at the year end and you subtract the projected costs, you end up with an operational surplus of £27,747. Sounds very accurate, so that's good news. If you look to the left of that, we predicted 25,588, so we're actually 2,000 ahead of budget, and that's having absorbed the extra cost of the vehicle and legal costs and all those things. So by manipulating, regurgitating them, we've come up there. And that's the good news. The bad news is that we've had to write off £3,207, so at the moment we're heading for a final figure of £24,450, which is £1,000 adrift from the original target. But bearing in mind all those allowances, that's good. That's okay. I have to say that this is the best case. It's realistic, but it is the best case. And I think that's the right way. It would be very easy to build in a bit of surplus so that we're bound to win. Well, I think we should stick with this. We should take a leaf from the private sector, where targets are everything, and you have to hit the target. And you do everything to hit the target. And I think we should adopt the same principle. And obviously in the private sector, as you know, you've got to do that, otherwise the shareholders will give you a hard time. Well, and the bank. We've got shareholders, the town are our shareholders, and we made a promise, so we've got to try and keep to it. So. And the other thing is that I think it sort of focuses the mind, and it makes you try very hard to hit the figures, and you just see that there's two items, just the lease and the rates, which could have easily just gone through. That saved us £5,500, and there's a few other things as well. So that's the numbers bit. Is there any queries on the report or the numbers?
No, can I just the place centre, we would start, I know they're paying their utility bills and doubling up to pay off some, but surely once we get it sorted, will the increase in the rent or lease, whatever we call it?
Yeah, the two areas I think the harbour is not a problem anymore. The two areas of weakness is, one is that, I'll answer the question in a second, but the Haven is, the rent review is currently in progress, and we're not quite sure what's going to happen there, so that's something we're not certain of. And the other one is the play centre. We've got a plan, and again it's realistic. subject to the, we don't know what the occupants are going to say about it or agree, but there is a plan of recovering that money, and we should recover. We should by the end of this year get it manageable, and sometimes the middle of the following year it should be paid off because we've got a catch-up invoicing going on. So every time we send an invoice for their energy, we double it for the equivalent month the year before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got a plan.
We've sent them an invoice that's doubled the. Have they paid that one?
No, they haven't paid that.
And is it still within time? Or? Within the 30 days?
Just
Because I mean, when I see that paid, I feel that
You're getting somewhere.
you're getting somewhere.
Well, we've got just on the play group, we've had the survey back on the pavilion. We've got heads of terms, so we've got now, and there's been a rental recommendation from the surveyor. So we've got to put that together with various other past payments, and I think we should get that within the next week probably, and send that off as a job lot, and then really start to make things happen. So that's, I think, where we're going with that. The survey has taken a lot longer than we thought, and in actual fact, it reports that the building is in quite good order, with one or two minor exceptions.
I've got a couple of questions, if I may. On your write-offs, there's one for a haven correction. Just because I had conversations with them, I'd like to know what that was.
That was an error that goes back 18 months.
Oh, right, okay.
It was hovering about, so we thought we'd just round it up.
And the other thing I just want to query is, in the earmarked funds, which presumably are in the client account, isn't there anything for that, the neighbourhood plan?
No, they haven't.
Maybe for the roads.
I haven't seen that they've applied for a grant. I've certainly not received any grant money.
They've got the Durham consultants wandering around today. They haven't even got the money to pay them. Well,
I've not seen that Sean's applied for a grant, because normally I get confirmation of that.
yeah. No, okay, yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
But you're quite right, if we received money from the neighbourhood plan, that would go into the earmarked accounts and be brought there.
Just a couple. I just think it's a great transformation from last year. Obviously, we were facing pretty well the opposite scenario. So I think finance has really done a good job. The only thing we always talk about, what we never talk about is the community centre. I wonder if we should have a review of that sometime, because it's another major asset of this town council, but it never seems to come up in conversation.
I don't think the lease review
You're not
is.
allowed to.
When the lease review is
It's
up.
a 99-year lease, isn't it?
Yeah.
There must be a review period, sure.
Yeah, it's about 2 years, I think.
2 years to go.
Most of our leases are 5 years.
It'd be nice to have a little report on it, just to give us an update.
Yeah. Well, I think we have mentioned it in our strategy discussions,
Yeah.
and it should continue for there should continue to feature there in my view.
Dave, congratulations. Yeah, Rick, we're in such a different place from where we were this time last year. Yeah, well done.
Okay. Anything else on that? Well, just before we move on, I would of course draw your attention to the fact that we now have our new till operational. That's as far as car payments are concerned. I'd just like to point out and remind you that it's not just a car payment system, it is an integrated financial system that gives all sorts of reports, and we use it, in my view. It will take a while to learn and work our way into it, but it will help us monitor things like beach huts, allotments, boat park, everything. So bit by bit, we're not rushing it, we're going to get the best out of it. But I would, we do have an offer on at the moment. So
Black Friday offer.
I'd like you all to order an orderly queue on your way out and buy 2 bags.
2 bags? No, food bags would be better.
Oh, food bags.
Food bags would be better.
Food bags.
£1.80.
But you
I
could,
purchased the first pack
you
of
could
food
use your
bags.
cards and just test the system. and
I'll
see
get
if it
some
works.
black bags. dustbin bags.
Do we actually make anything on these things? Because I thought we have to.
The black bags and the food bags we buy from Tendring and we sell at the same cost. And I think there was a small margin on the food bags. The dog bags, the council buys in, so we can put any markup. They've been £2 for a very long time, so that does need looking at.
Right.
And the recycling boxes, we're just a collection point for Tendring, so we buy them in at the price that we sell them, so there is no margin there.
Is that? But can't we put a margin on it?
Well,
there is an
Recycling,
operating
no.
I mean, there is an
Storage, operating costs, transportation.
They don't do the job though, Tendring will tell you, because we are the only collection point outside of Clacton.
Really?
No other council would do it.
I wonder why.
If I could just say that there's been informal discussions with Councillor Court on the sales of the trading division, which I think can go, does an awful lot of good. But we've got to look at pricing and the whole product range and all that normal sort of commercial discussion really. But it's, I think on the put on the end of the report the value of each of the products, and which that's to October. So we do need to look at those and be far more realistic and so that's in progress and overdue. Is that okay? Right. We've now got 4C is the debtors list.
Did you not want B?
Sorry?
Did you not want B?
We'll just
Financial monthly overview.
well, that's what I've just done.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah,
I've got it. Is that okay?
Normally I give an update just to say that income during October for this month
Oh, sorry.
was £1,455,621.86 and expenditure for October was £25,645.98.
All right, sorry. I thought that was item 5.
No.
I stand corrected. So debtors list. You can see it's changed dramatically. It's dominated by the play group, and the 738 is the outstanding Haven current park quarterly lease payment has now been received, so that will be sorted out on the next month. And that's the money partly that Tracy chased with Fenright and some other hospitals. So that's the debtors list.
Can I make an observation on one of the payments to be received for the town guide advert? Was the cherry tree, £60. Cherry tree has been now taken over. There's new management in there. I think this debt needs to be written off.
Yeah.
Can I make a point about that one? I agree with you, but we have got an opportunity to sell them up at the next town guide. So we're going to start, just a quick update on the town guide. So I want to talk about these other debtors on there as well. We're in a position to start selling on that now. Broadly, the rates are going to go up, but they're going to get more through the Visit Brightlingsea website as well. So with the cherry tree, I'd like to approach them and say, look, it's kind of not your debt because it was from the previous owners, but it'd be nice if you took a nice shiny 4-page advert off of us. With the Rosebud, do we know how many times they've been chased?
No, I don't know.
And the same for the Thames Estuary Lobster
That
Hatchery.
has been sent out and I've now got an email to send.
So we're going to send another one to them. Can we give them a deadline of...
7 days.
Yeah, I was going to say end of the month, yeah. Because we're going to start looking at this in the 1st of December. And we're not going to allow them to book if they've got debts outstanding.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Dave, can I just bring up another subject that's not on the agenda but it's part of this, and it's banking. We've applied for the CCLA that we discussed before. So that's a reply. But the other thing I was going to say, you'll notice if you look at the financial report that there's 2 accounts now, Barclays and Unitary, that are now well over the £85,000 limit. back to, or going forward to another report we'll take with the internal audit, I wonder if it's worth us opening a post office account. It therefore allows Tracy to go and get cash without going through her own personal account, which was one of the objections. And it also may allow us to actually reduce our exposure when we're up to the limit on both of these banks, to put some in there to cover that limit.
Are we allowed to open a post office account?
Sorry?
Are we allowed to open one?
As far as I know, yeah.
Because lots of banks will have local authorities to open, but it's, if they will, yeah.
I'd be interested to see if the Royal Post would not allow you, the Royal Mail would not allow. But anyway, all I'm suggesting is it would solve that problem, because that's the only bank you have access to, isn't it? Yeah? Oh no, Lloyd's come up, but only once.
Oh yeah, no, it's just the post office, yeah.
So, with your permission, we'll have a go at opening up a post office account.
Yeah.
It will allow us to put some cash in it, reduce the numbers, and at the same time give her a cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit easier for,
And I think you
yeah.
get a little bit of interest in the post office.
Sorry?
You get a little bit of interest in the
Yeah,
post office.
well, we look at which accounts they've got. We might take two and then use their deposit account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Right, item 5, examining the accounts.
If after the meeting I could have two councillors pleased to examine the accounts for October, we have 16 payments in the sum of £3,922.86 to be authorised for payment, and the balances on the bank accounts are as follows. We have the current account £33,779.65, the first business premium account £85,000, the second premium account £593.95, the instant access account £85,000, and the current T2 account £5,381.22, and that makes a total on all accounts of £209,754.82. Income for October £145,621.86. Expenditure for October £25,645.98. Income to date, 1st of April to 31st of October, was £348,288. Expenditure to date, 1st of April to the 31st of October, £225,492.15. And employee payments paid for the month of October were £16,444.28.
Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
If you get them signed off, we can authorise them straight away.
You can, because they are on the bank.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. I can stay because I've got a
Okay.
meeting with
Thank
Will
you.
straight after.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've got a meeting with a neighbourhood planning people, but it may only be 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Item 6, dispensation policy. Tracy can run through that.
Can I? Okay, I was asked to look for a dispensation policy, so that obviously when you have an interest, you don't have to leave the room, etc. And a little bit of research, I have come up with a policy based on other local town councils. Do you all have a copy in front of you?
Well, I'd like to recommend this.
Yeah, I'll second it.
I'd like to ask a question. We talk about non-registerable interests quite a lot in here. Do we need to define what they are?
I think it's defined in the Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could get a copy of the Act.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have maybe as an appendix or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And I suppose this is more of a question for the Mayor to ask, but has everyone gone through and checked that they're...
Squeaky clean.
Yeah, because it's not the responsibility of this council to ensure that you've got the right interests in the right place. It's your individual responsibility, and you the ones getting in trouble, not the town council.
Can I just change what you said a minute ago? Can I recommend that that we write to the monitoring officer and ask for her definition.
Hmm.
Because when I talked to the monitoring officer, I think it's the way you interpret the act.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we should get her interpretation rather than making our own interpretation, because it would appear that I would have to declare being a member of the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought I sat on as a representative of the council anyway. But you see what I mean? So maybe we should get her definition. That would be
Might be worth just sending her this.
Yeah.
yeah. But the problem with that doesn't give the definition.
Yeah.
No, but she would, and ask her to add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% for it.
Yeah.
It's just like you say, making sure we get the definition right.
Well, I think some people have added to their...
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've covered everything. But when we met her in Notice,
Yeah.
she was sort of started adding things like neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, I think it's over declare, isn't it?
Yeah.
If in doubt, put it on there.
Yeah, she's always said, even if it's wrong, just keep on declaring because you're covering yourself.
Did you mention the spouses as well?
So what?
Spouses. No?
But I mean, it's the problem is where do you stop?
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Residents Association of the Marina. I'm a member of the IOD. It goes on and on and on.
I think spouses are.
Yeah, you do have to
declare
declare
your form,
things.
don't you?
You do need to.
But it does tend to go over the top sometimes. I think the sensible thing is, you must disclose when and if it comes up. That's the most sensible thing. It does go a little bit over the top with this paperwork. But hey, you've got to do it. You've got to do it.
Actually, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. If you work it that way, can you get dispensation like as quickly as that? Can she rule? Can Tracy rule you get dispensation at that meeting when you just announce it?
So this policy shows that you can ask for dispensation at a council meeting.
When the subject comes up. Okay, that's
I personally think it'd be a lot more transparent if everything was in writing, rather than just as and when. Yeah. That's certainly the impression I got from that meeting, was that stick it all in advance,
And
then you can apply for dispensations and you're bulletproof there. Otherwise, if you forget to disclose something, a decision's made, you're opening yourself to that decision could have been made because of and that was quite a serious offence in that someone actually ended up going to jail for it. So it is a really serious. I didn't realise how serious this stuff was. So mine's as long as a lot of things.
It should be.
Just for an example, Cabinet on Friday, the report come up for Careline. And although as a group leader I can attend Cabinet and we can speak on it, we don't hold voting rights. But because my mum was a user of Careline, I had to declare along with Paul Honeywood, and we were going to have to leave that meeting. But because it wasn't a decision, it was a report, we were granted a dispensation to stay.
Who decides the dispensation?
The monitoring officer.
Yeah, but in our case,
I mean,
Tracy.
it was Tracy, so we could both speak on it, which we did, but we weren't allowed to have any formal vote or say on the outcome of that report. But we were granted dispensation. If not, we would have both had to have leave. And it's nothing to do with me. You know, it's a relative. So that's you're right. It's so strict.
I have done a bit of research on this, and there's two things that are really important. One is that the dispensation is declared, although you've already declared, you've got to re-declare it you've got dispensation. And the other thing that I think is really important is you declare what type of dispensation, because there's two types. You can talk but can't vote, you can't attend.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that, particularly at public meetings, when somebody, Dave gets up and talks about the Lido as an example.
Don't anymore.
No, used to. And you know, in his case, he could talk but can't vote. Something like, you know, it needs to be declared that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's more strict on personal. You see,
Yeah.
mine was personal.
Yeah.
Although it had not, as I said, it had nothing to do with me, but because I had my mum who was a Careline customer.
Yeah. So I just wonder if something in that policy we should add
Should flag.
to add as to how it's implemented.
Mm.
Yeah, because it talks about it, but it doesn't say and it works like this.
Mm.
Well, could we sort of perhaps recommend we accept in principle subject to the review by the monitoring officer
Yeah.
Yeah.
and modify that so it's got to be
Yeah.
what,
Yeah. So that it can go
24
to-
hours before the meeting.
I think it's important that we take it forward so that it goes to the November.
Oh yeah.
And not forgetting, of course, this is for our personal protection, really.
Yeah.
Not physical protection, but for our protection. Protect us.
I think, yeah. I mean, we can put it through as a policy and then say,
Yeah.
you know, and come back with a modification.
Yeah, subject to something.
So I think you need to
So,
propose that.
yeah, so I propose it.
I'll second it.
Yeah, lovely.
Is that okay, Tracy?
Very good.
Is that okay on that?
Yeah.
Right, item 7, internal audits. The auditor, Trevor Brown, he did his checks last Thursday and he only sent his report in yesterday. So it's been sent out to everybody, but it's obviously hot off the press. So my view would be that there's some recommendations we should maybe review those at the next meeting. The other thing is that you might, it was suggested to Trevor that either just before Christmas or after, we have a forum with himself and any councillors interested. He's got a vast experience and he works with lots of the councils, and it may be, while we're trying to hit the rules, it'd be good to have the interpretation and his experience. And he was very happy to do that, so I recommend we invite him when anybody turns up, and this is to try and put a bit of extra sort of flair on the whole proceedings, and so that's where we are. But the report's been sent, so I don't know whether anybody wants to comment now.
I'd imagine. So again, reiterating what I was saying before, this time last year we were in a very difficult place. Mr. Brown has almost given us a pat on the back and said, well done, carry on, don't do anything foolhardy, you're on the right road.
Very good.
And that's down really to this committee and Tracy that have worked so hard to be able to get to where we are with the auditor.
2 points came out that seemed to be recommendations at action points. One was the internal controller. So how are we going to deal with that? And the other one was the petty cash, which hopefully will deal with under the post office. So we need somebody that's going to, not in this committee, I presume, that's going to go and sit with Tracy and do a reconciliation.
There should be on the committee, but we can't be a signatory to any bank account, and we can't be the chair or vice chair. So it's something.
And that needs really
But I wonder if
Well, I don't know, we'll have to go for it.
you're a signatory, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
okay. But is it okay if we review the recommendations next time round, digest them, and organise a forum
Yeah.
with Trevor in the chair? So we can organise that. I was in any event going to say that I just saw briefly, but I did congratulate Tracy the day of the audit. The little room in there, the table and everywhere was full of policies and accounts and ring binders, and he said that everything there was in the right order, and
That's good.
so he was pleased. He arrived at 9:30 and he was gone by 3:30, which apparently is pretty good. So
Well done all round.
I'd like to, can I put on record that we should recall Tracy's thanks, because I think if we go back a few months ago, which became a horrific time for particularly our staff and Tracy in particular, that to pull this through, working under a cloud, let's be really obvious, and to the point about it, you know, there was no fault, but this has just really proven that, you know, even tightening up on tiny little things, this report's proven that, you know, we worked correctly. So I'd like to record that, please. Because it's been a hard few months, isn't it?
Slightly different as a question for communications. Is this a good chance for us to maybe, once we've looked at it and all read it properly and discussed the recommendations, this feels like a nice kind of end of year message
Yeah.
to say, look at the progress we've made in this calendar year. This is why it was put in place, and this is the progress we've made. I think that's a nice positive story.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think what I'd like to do is get Trevor to give us 2 sentences. I mean, putting this
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not
this is-
thinking we rush it now. I'm just thinking maybe we do it end of the year, beginning of next year.
Yeah.
But I think it would be nice. I think residents would like to see this.
Well, I think when we review it, we can come up with that. Maybe if we talk to one of us, talks to Trevor, we can get sort of give us a paragraph or a statement. But I think the other thing is it'd be nice to also go back and say, and the 2 points you did, we've done something about. Yeah.
And even the base, the governance report where we've updated that. Did that go off to Lisa? So that's got to go to the tendering of ours for a copy. But we sat here and we'd gone through it and we'd done so much of that recommendation anyway. But I think to put that part out and then follow it with this also, that's a bit of a double whammy, isn't it? That we've done everything we've been asked.
And you could triple it up with the harbour.
Yeah.
We could do
Generally, you could just do it about every area because this council has made a lot of progress.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think these are all good news. Let's not use up all the good news in one go.
Well, no, we can drip feed it in.
Or maybe it's done as an outgoing mayor's.
Come on, it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, that might be the best.
So, yeah,
Let's do it as an outgoing message. So he gets your back.
No, I think that should go out as soon as it's been agreed to passed and.
I think we need a statement though, because otherwise it's just.
Oh,
us.
they don't
we
need
need
all
him
that.
to quote.
Yeah,
this is what he said.
Yeah.
I agree.
Can I just add, he was also very complimentary on the new website.
Was he?
Yeah, and he got a lot of information before
That's
the
good news,
audit
isn't it?
of the website. So,
Well, that's good news as
He
well.
said that the new site was very good.
He also said he tunes into our meetings, so
He
hi
did.
Trevor.
Oh, does he?
Is that right?
So we have 2 people.
Actually, you say calling into the forum. What about asking him to come to a finance?
Well, could you tell what the sort of thing I had in mind is our asset register, for example.
Yeah.
Policy.
Yeah.
You can read that, and also if you read the book, we're doing it all wrong because we were gifted some of the land and it should go to 0. But he said that's not necessarily the case. So he's got definitely a view on how that should be done. So I
Yeah, I'd
thought
like to know that.
with the
Oh,
forum,
okay, that's one technical.
he can, you know, he's seen so many other councils, big and small, that
That's a very good point.
And we are slowly updating our assets in a better form to be able to read. We're a bit behind on doing it, but I think in the new year we might have a spreadsheet ready to come to this council.
And, we also mentioned
To this committee.
the strategy. We should have a strategy policy. We've got one, but we need to make it very real.
Well, we started to plan that, and we're getting on with the survey.
And he's got a view how that should be presented and that sort of thing. And then that's another communications item as well. So,
Send me that on email.
Just one other thing on that, I'm just reading his recommendations. So recommendation 1 was to the new model financial regulations, and that was changed. We should have got that. He said we've got to do it before the 31st. Can we do that next month? It's not a big issue, is it? Just changing that, or is it?
I haven't read it fully, but
I must
we can have a
have.
look.
Yeah?
well, that's because I thought we had done actually, but
I think the one we've got isn't the 20.
No, it's not the latest one.
Not like
it's
it's
the
24,
24,
isn't it?
I thought we'd done that.
No.
Okay, fine. Any other queries?
agreed, and the new pay rates increased by £1,290 per annum. So, and it has to be backdated to April, and it went through on the November wages. I think, you know, doing our budgets, we've always put in a good cover. I think we put in 6% this time, and I think it's working out just under the 6% or something.
Yeah.
So I think we need to maintain this 6-7% each year in our budgets, because this is the second year they've thrown this in now.
Is it a set, so it's 1900 no matter what your pay grade is?
Another 1,290 on top of what the pay grade
Sorry,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's new NJC
So it's
stuff.
not a percentage at all now then?
No, I think we've just tried to work it out. We think it works out just under 6%, but
So the bottom of the scale is gradually catching up?
and they're taking out the very bottom scales as well. We've got to be aware that the minimum wage in April
Yeah, goes
is
up.
coming in at 10%, just on the 10% mark. So that is really going to take out a lot of the bottom scales, and the apprentices and the over 18s have got 17.5% increase. So that's a huge increase coming in on those.
I mean, in respect to this, it's very inflationary, isn't it? If people are getting higher wages all over, and prices, as we all know, are all escalating, you know, this is going
It's
to...
frightening.
It's frightening, and I would say there's great pressures on inflation on this.
Well, you could argue it's going to take people out of work in tax credit, which will save the taxpayer money.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh.
You know, you could say that it's, without wanting to get too political,
A cunning plan.
well, the taxpayers fund, it's a slightly different argument, but you could say that the taxpayer at the moment is subsidising Tesco's, because minimum wage staff there are claiming universal credit. So by bumping up their actual wages or forcing them to pay more, it means they're less reliant on the state. But
I think we've also got to be aware, and I'm not certain whether we'll fall into it, is that the employer's national insurance contribution, whereas before you didn't pay anything until they were on £10,000, is now dropping to £5,000. You know, I've got 3 members of staff, so it's personal to me. Every one of them are going to go into that bracket.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to cut their hours.
yeah,
You know, it's
that's right.
and that's you know, I won't, but that's the way people are going to work because of the increase on top, and then this national insurance. I'm not certain how we stand on our part-time.
Can I bring it down to microeconomics rather than macro? This needs to be considered when we look at our precept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people will say their current rate of inflation is 1.5, but the current inflation of an employee is considerably higher.
And sorry, that's the NJC scales that come in, but also I'm going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. We've got a member of staff who's been on 3-month trial.
Yeah.
Terry is very happy. We now need to offer him a permanent contract, but he wants to go into the pension scheme.
And so he has every right
And
to.
legally he has every right.
We want him to stay
We
long
want him to
term.
go.
Yeah,
So I absolutely agree.
but again, it's going to be an input onto the finances because the council's going to have to pay this. So
Well, we're going to talk about the next year's
Precept.
precept and mobility.
So, yeah, that's all I've got on that bit, sorry.
Is that okay on table?
Yeah.
9 is bin stickers. We have to approve the ENT's desire to put bin stickers on the council bins. I think it was it £72?
£72.50 for 50 stickers.
So
Just to confirm, we're putting them on Brightstown
Brightstown Council
Council
bins
bins.
only.
only.
Yeah, not tendering.
Move.
Second, minimal.
Item 10, the beach hut. The ENT sign is that they recommended that it should should be disposed of. There's no decision on time or method or cost, but that was the recommendation last week. So, who wants to discuss?
I'd like to remain neutral on this, but I would like to say that we did buy this at a very reduced price with the thought that it would be a good social thing for some of our residents to be able to use. It's pretty apparent that we are not beach hut managers in this council, and so so we may have failed a wee bit on that. Like I say, I'm neutral on it. Whereas before I was very pro keep hold of it, I'm neither up or down. So.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about the quotes to repair it? In which case, I'm going to declare a personal interest and leave the meeting.
I didn't think that was relevant.
No?
I
Okay,
think
that's
we're
fine.
deciding. So, Chris.
Well, I was funny enough from what John just said. I think that we should, when we do sell it, extract what we pay for it and any repair cost, and then put the rest of it into the community fund to fund community bids. Right, it goes back to the 10 directly, yeah? Rather than trying to make a profit out of it.
Okay.
I think that's a very commendable thing to say. I mean, as you know, I think everyone knows in the council that I've always thought it was completely against, it's not conducive to really what the council's core business is. Doesn't really relate to anything we should be doing. And to be honest with you, to run beach up, to book it in, to clean it, to make sure it's secure and lock it all up after anybody has used it, you know, we haven't got the manpower or the will to do it. I think we've only received about £35 in 20 years or something. And the cost of repair has been round about £1,000, and in 2 years' time, you're going to have another £1,000. You know, with respect, it's ridiculous. And I brought this up at ENT, and I would like very much to move that this council dispose it through a local agent at its relative price, because and actually put the money into community use. And I think all the profit back into community use. I think that's a very commendable thing, and let some other family use it, because I can't see it's really not that good to do that, and clearly there's not a great desire to hire it. So I'd like to move that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like us to keep it, but I'm not going to win that argument, so I'll deal with that. But if we are going to sell it, I think we need to get all the detail. So I think we need to get we need to come up with 3 different quotes, let's say. Replacing the structure and selling it, how much would that net us? Repairing it and selling it, how much would that net us? And also selling it as it is, what would that net us? And I think once we get those 3 numbers, then we can decide which one we want to go with.
Okay.
That's sensible.
Anyone? So if we recommend that we intend disposing of each other, method to be agreed, and my view would be that any net funds should go into the earmarked account, which should be held for either some community project or we don't want to just the money just be
exactly.
so it's
I think it should be over after the 5,000 should go back into our accounts and then surplus.
and or to generally improve our other assets or something like that.
Yeah, and that has to be decided by this committee, not by anyone else who thinks, because it's for community use and this project's for community use, therefore I'll use it for that. So I think we've got to be quite tight on that. Because we've done such a good job in the last year.
Well, that's why, I mean, we have a fund that we give, I know.
Yeah, I know.
It's always Scouts or whoever it is.
Oh no, completely agree.
We should put it through that.
It's all in the wording, isn't it? Because otherwise,
I
another councillor might turn around and say, well, the wording says it could be used for community. This thing that I want to do is for community, therefore we've got to agree to it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a view that any asset sale has got to go into future assets, but I've checked it doesn't. But I think it should be earmarked for.
And Chair, may I add also, we need to think very carefully of when we're going to sell this. Don't just say next week. It's like timely sale, almost like a private sale.
There is one of the estate agents who
John
Yeah,
Lewis.
no, no,
It's
because
stone
I've asked him, and I've got roughly those prices, but I can get a full report and bring it to the next meeting.
So are we saying, I just want to clarify, are we saying that we are going to put the original money that we paid for the beach hut back into this community fund, or are we going to say we're going to
No,
put
the
the
net-
whole amount?
No, the net, so we take out, what it,
Profit.
5,000
we
we
take out 5,000, put that back into our own money, that was our own money in the first place, whatever it came from.
Yeah, yeah.
And then anything over 5,000
Goes into the community fund.
That's exactly like, I think that's
Thanks.
fair.
Why don't put the lot in? Less any repairs. That makes it easy.
You're talking to a businessman.
So when we took this on, Chair, I was always uncomfortable when we bought that for the very reduced price. I know that the resident just wanted shot at it, and she felt it was, you know, something she needed to get rid of because I think her husband died, didn't she? But it didn't sit comfortably with a few councillors how we did it, and we bought it for a very reduced price.
So that means we'll make a better profit than we would have
But
done.
in saying that, beach hut prices are falling. John
They are
Lucas
falling.
has got 2 that he's had to reduce because he can't get rid of them.
What sort of prices are they? Do you know?
Oh, I think they're 15 and they've come
15-ish.
down to 10.
I
One
mean,
of
that's
them.
quite a, if we take 5 out of that, throwing 10 into a community fund,
It's
more than
quite
we've
good.
ever had for free.
Absolutely. That depends on whether we can get it repaired before we sell it.
Yeah.
We might have to lose £1,000.
I think that's
The other
that's
5,000 we should swing into professional fees again.
That's exactly what I think.
But what Councillor Court said there is a very sensible thing. Look at, go to John Lucas, how much is it worth as you see it?
Yeah.
Go and find out how much it costs to go and buy a new hut, and demolish that and put that on. That would probably be cheaper. Or trying to fix what's there. Trying to fix what's there probably isn't going to happen. It's a bit.
Well, we've had a quote to fix what's
Yeah.
there.
Very good.
While we're on this subject, which favourite subject am I? I mean, the rest of those, there are some along that road that really need the owners being told, come on. I mean, there's
One of them we did, and they are.
right, one of them
Yes.
is, yeah, but the one that the bit flew off and hit me off the roof, she was not touched it.
That wasn't our hut, was it?
Sorry?
It wasn't our hut,
No,
was it?
no, I'm sure it's derelict. I mean, the roof's caved in one side, bits of it in the wind were blowing off.
Well,
We've sent him a letter.
we do have the right to
These are
seize, Chris. We can seize the hut.
Well, maybe we'll have 2 for sale.
Well, the thing is,
Go and put this in the trading division.
I think it's the same with all rent if they're paying the rent. If they're paying
It's the
rent.
side rent, yeah. We have a
But
spare
surely,
half that
from
are
the point of
outside.
view of the, I mean, people are complaining about Batemans, and rightfully so, but I think there's just as much of a complaint about the state of some of the beach huts, and that particular one along there, I've got 2 years.
Did we not do an audit? Did we do a walkabout? I think we did, didn't we?
I think we should stick with the.
I like
Right.
that.
Let's just do this 312.
So the next time round we'll have some more
Yeah,
evidence.
he does it, doesn't he?
Okay. Right.
Well, it should be seen anyway.
So you're going to be putting that as a recommendation to full council.
Yeah, then we're going to report back.
And are you going to do all the 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Thank
Okay. We better. Then we propose on that.
I will.
So,
I'll second.
And I think, sorry, it should be you two at full council as well.
Yeah, it should be. Fine.
Yeah.
item 11 is the speed and volume survey. Perhaps Matt could describe briefly what we're doing here.
Yeah, so there's 2 arms to this. There is the official, so we all know about the speeding issues or reported speeding issues, especially around Ladysmith Avenue and some other areas of town where us and the Community Speed Watch can't go and monitor because we haven't got health and safety sign off for those locations, and also, you know, it's difficult to get the police out and getting them to do speed checks. So there's an official route which you can go down, which is to get the 2 rubber strips across the road from Essex County Council. Cost about, Tracy?
£311
Cost
around.
And that's really good, can happen, but it's obviously fixed in one place, and it's officially what you need to do to kind of start the ball rolling to do anything. But then there's another way we could look at doing this ourselves, which is they're basically, I found this company in Holland, and they produce like a mobile phone type device that you stick on the first floor window, connects to the house, to the property's Wi-Fi, and then use its camera to monitor the traffic going past. It will do the type of traffic, so anything from pedestrians, cyclists, mobility scooter users through to HGVs, but it will also tell you how many of them are using it and in what direction, and then it will also tell you how fast they were going. So it doesn't go down to individual vehicles, but it will say 15% are travelling at 35 to 40 miles an hour, 80% were travelling under the speed of 30 miles an hour, let's say. And these things are about €340. I forget what the exact amount was.
400?
It was after you added all the add-ons, actually, wasn't it? It was about £400. Yeah.
Play import duty and VAT.
Yeah. And that, sorry, I didn't realise I was presenting on it, otherwise I would have brought the exact figures.
No, it's okay.
But the idea on this is they're very recognised, renowned devices. They're used all over Europe, and they seem to be very accurate. But what I would like to do is get it in time to test its accuracy when we do the Essex County Council one. So we basically set it up at the same time with the Essex one, and we compare the differences so that we can see what is actually kind of accurate. And then what we can do is we can move it around town, different locations, perhaps for a month at a time, and we see where the actual kind of speeding and traffic hotspots are, what time of day we've got a problem, if we've got a problem at all. It could just be that it's just perception that there's a speeding problem.
And send that report to
whoever we want. Yeah, so we would then use that to we could go to the police and say, look, hey, this is supplementing the community speedwatch data. Which, the speedwatch data does suggest there is a speeding problem on the 3 locations we're allowed to monitor. But we could use it to go to Essex Highways and say, look, we perhaps need more help on this, to the police. Perhaps you can come along and set up a session here at this particular time. It's kind of giving them intelligence.
yeah.
And I think it really does show the residents that we're looking at this in quite a creative and proactive way.
Can I just, on your second, okay, sorry, get my things. I think the Essex County Council one, does that come with paraphernalia saying that they're,
No.
I mean, there's nothing in it other than the 2 yellow strips.
No, it's not even yellow, they're black.
No.
So they have a little box that's attached to a telegraph pole, which is why you can't have them anywhere, because they have to be attached to a lamppost or a telegraph pole.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 kind of thick, I don't know, 2/3 of an inch gauge, kind of like wire going across.
You can. My point is that I think it depends what you want this for. But if you want to slow people down, a nice couple of big black lines across the road, and in the local press saying there's a monitoring system in Ladybird Avenue, is going to have much more effect than a more secretive.
You're right, but it's what the goal of this is. The goal of this is it'll only be there for a week, and you want to get it with you want it as natural traffic movements as possible, so that you can see what the true.
So the county council one's only there for a week.
Yeah. So it's a bit like with
no.
when we do
I thought it was going to be there for a longer time.
Oh no! So it's like you kind of don't want people to know it's there, so that people are driving normally, so you can see what the actual problem is. Because the problem we've got at the moment is we don't know what the issues are.
I actually think the Dutch system in the camera is far more useful. Actually, I don't know why we need the Essex County one. I would go with that personally.
So I've been obviously chatting to Councillor Goggin, who is championing from the County Council one. I think what Matt's saying is just spot on. I think there's 2 systems here. It would be good for us and proactive for us to run the 2 in tandem if we can afford it. Information from County Council Goggin is that Essex County Highways will not accept the information coming from what they are now calling the Dutch system. And when I probed on that, it's come back because we don't know.
Yeah.
It's not to say that we won't accept it, but right now we don't know. So that's
calibrated,
yeah,
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's another reason, really, to run the two in tandem, because it strategically questions Essex County Council of their types of equipment. The fact that you've got these two rubber strips down the thing could deter people, but you've got other people saying, oh, what's it counting? You know? But with a little bit of a minimalistic communications type thing, hey, don't you know that Brighton Town Council have now got these little things that go all over the place? That could help.
Yeah, I mean, this all is kind of making me feel like we could be quite big advocates of this if we find it works. If it does stack up against the official Essex one, because Essex won't do anything without doing the two strips, unfortunately. But if we find it works for us, then we could get a representative of highways down here. I could get the coordinator from Community Speed Watch, perhaps even the Police and Fire Crime Commissioner, and someone from Essex Police, one of the highways officers, to come down and actually see it in action, so that then they can start realising that this is actually a really low cost, easy, simple way to see where there's problems or where there's not problems. And I think that could be a really good, positive thing for us.
At the end, what's the objective to go 20 mile an hour speed limit?
My feeling is two objectives here. The first objective is showing to our residents that we're being proactive with our speeding. Second objective is to get Essex County Council to scrunch the data to what they feel is the official data and to react on that, to say there is a problem or there isn't a problem. And the third objective is to turn around to the world and say, we've got these pieces of kit, so just watch out.
But what do you want Essex? I mean, what I say is, what do you want Essex County Council to do?
We can't decide that.
Yeah.
No.
Because we don't know.
I understand, but what do we want? 20 mile an hour limit?
No, we don't know. We don't know.
So we come back to the data.
Because the speeds may come back that everyone's driving at 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Until we've done this and moved around town and kind of built a picture, it may throw up something that says, okay, maybe we do need to advocate for a 20 mile an hour speed limit in some sections, or it could be actually, guys, we've all got this wrong. There's actually not that big a speeding project,
Maybe the case.
apart from on this particular junction. That's where the problem is. Maybe we need to, and then we say Essex Highways. We're not experts on this. You guys are. Here's the problem. How would you fix it?
Correct. One of the things you'll find though that Essex County Council will be talking about, because Alan Godwin told us, that is still designated as the main, I can't remember what the category is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what flexibility, when we say everybody's speeding, what they're going to do.
Well, that's the thing, we don't know. That's why we want to get this kit, so that we can work out where the problems are. And then, because otherwise you're predetermining what you're doing the exercise for. And I think we're just really looking to gather data on this, because that was it. What everyone says whenever you talk about this to anyone at the police, at Essex Highways, I always say, "What's the data?" And the only way they gather the data is these little black strips, which for me are so inflexible. This is pretty cool in terms of being able to move around. It's mobile. And it seems that it could be quite accurate as well.
And it's being used all over Europe, you say?
Yeah. And there are about
Will Essex
50
County,
units in the UK as well.
will Essex County pay for the strips?
No.
No.
We request it, we have to pay.
Yeah.
If there's been an accident and county put in the strips for the speed, they pay. But if we're requesting it, we have to pay.
But can we not ask the Essex County to put it down, because there's been two serious accidents down there where it wiped off about 4 cars, didn't it?
I think
But nobody was in.
I think when you talk to
So they've got to be an injury.
Councillor Goldman, he's got to be a fatality.
And find a volunteer doing.
Well, can we recommend that we're going to spend up to £1,000 on a speed data collection system?
You need somebody from this committee to put that forward.
I propose it then.
That would be mine. Okay.
And then the same people that are putting it forward then will put it to full council.
Yeah, I'll do against that. I quite like the DAP system. I don't see the need.
No,
Essex
sorry.
won't listen.
I said data collection system, which would be two systems. They're both about £400, I think. So.
Go on, I'll second it.
No, the Dutch one. It sounds very good, and we could put it on our trading division and sell them.
We've really got another reason.
They're speaking my driveway.
We could connect it to the new till And any cars that pass, they just get a debit.
Yeah, we'll charge a margin this time.
I knew we could
Trouble is, I know people will keep paying fines.
Yeah.
Right.
What were the other places, just so I know? Layford and any other?
Smith Avenue.
What the
Places
border
that-
places?
They won't let you as community go to.
Oh, anywhere. So, just for an example, we've got 3 positions signed off: Sampson's Road, Strangers Corner, Lower Park Road, by the Manor.
But sorry, you said there were 3
That's our 3 that we're allowed to do.
Oh, I thought you said there were 3 that you couldn't go
Oh,
to.
no. Most places we're not allowed to do. So we would never be allowed to do Ladysmith Avenue because we haven't got sight lines. I think it's like 150 metres either way because you've got parked cars there. But even when you do find a location, so Red Barn Road, we've just got that signed off,
Yeah.
but I applied for it 7 months ago.
Good.
So can you do Red Barn Road? We had a complaint about that yesterday,
So
Red
now,
Barn and Bateman.
so we've now got Red Barn Road, we've got that signed off. I think it's where the temporary bus stop is at the moment, roughly around that kind of way.
Yeah. But I have, following the ENT meeting, spoken to the local PCSOs because ENT asked if the police could carry out speed checks at the top of Chapel Road, Ladysmith Avenue, Lower Park Road, Combe Road, Red Barn Road and Sampson's Road. But Sampson's Road particularly at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, definitely.
So the police are aware of those areas.
Yeah.
The police sergeant we met said he was quite happy to try and get some.
The marine police are really good at this now, aren't they? Getting people, maybe if it rains a lot.
Well, we did.
Red Barn Road.
I must admit, Chris, when we had Ellie down at the Cone Yacht Club, we were using the marine unit as the
I know, I was there.
as the top of the tree as an example of how to do policing.
Yeah.
And she was getting more and more red faced.
There's probably less people going up and down the
Are
river.
we done on speed data collection?
Yeah.
The next one is 12 is budgets for next year. We've got to try and get those agreed at the next meeting, or we could leave it to the following one if we have to. Is that correct?
I haven't been given the deadlines yet, but sometimes January meetings fall just within the deadlines.
So just to try and give us a better understanding, just a single sheet with some very basic information that shows the shape of how the budgets are going to be. The 2 big ones are what is the precept in this particular analysis. It's just a random 10%, and the other one is would you another vehicle in next financial year? So we decide, do we want another vehicle? Do we want what do we want to do, or extended use, whatever. So the 2 big ones are obviously precept and the vehicle. So these figures here, just a quick sort of random look, just sort of so you get a feel for where we are. You can see that the projected surplus is significantly higher than anything we've looked at before, partly because of the boat park and the savings on the jetty. So what I thought was, if that sort of helps me to do a bit more analysis, some of the easy ones during the course of before the next meeting, we can issue ones where they're not really controversial or critical, they're just mathematical. And then so the next meeting we can start looking at debating and seeing what we want to do. So this just shows a few typical sort of increases of cost and weather. So I don't know what the view of your
The only thing I'm looking at, why does the sales income include the sales income obviously hardly pushes the boat part that includes? But shouldn't they have a separate line now almost?
Well, there's quite a lot more lines we've got to put on this, but it was just, I'd say, just to give you a feel for where we are. I mean, the vehicles, for example, by the way, we're all going to be earmarked. You've got to take them out of the operational budgets as well. So it was just to, I mean, the obvious one is, Chris mentioned, what do you do about legal fees, which we always seem to struggle with. But so really, this was a start for 10.
Dave, on the car parking, is that our share of the car parking?
Yeah.
So it's our bit of the car parking.
Yeah.
3% seems, I mean, judging by all the rest, 3% seems a bit of a lot.
Well, I only put 3% because I would have thought that tendering probably it's their call, and so
Oh, it's their call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our proportion from the tendering car parks.
No, it's
And
Brightlingsea.
right, sorry,
Brightlingsea,
right, because they manage it.
So they dictate the parking fund, 3%.
Yes,
Yeah, but hopefully we get 50%.
and we get 50%. I've asked for this year's figures, but they haven't given the two.
Oh, right.
They're always late, aren't they?
On the precept for
Don't
next
yet.
year, we actually say increase 10%. Where did that come from?
Well, I'd say these are just random figures, just to try and give you a feel for if we did charge 10%, that's what it comes to. It's just
That's
well, this is what
Well,
that's
it's,
what the purpose
it's
is
in line,
to
isn't
do.
it, with inflation and...
Inflation down one.
And personally, I think a good place to work out what our precept should increase by is looking at the increase on operational costs, I think,
including
which would be, obviously a little bit less than 10%, but I think that would be justifiable and
Well, can I just check something? Sorry, just to interrupt you. You've got salaries have gone up 5%, but does that include the increase in the NI?
These are just purely guesstimate figures.
I think
There's no
that line will go up because the NI will add quite a substantial amount to it.
Yeah, and as I just said, we've had a 6% increase this year. I think we need to at least put in a 6% for next year. Minimum wage is 10%, so
Well, I think.
yeah, it's our biggest line, isn't it? We've got to get it
can
right.
I mean, yeah, 1% makes a lot of difference on that line. Can we? Is there a way of doing a calculation on that?
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Well, there is a calculation if you assume what the award's going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So having decided.
It's more the actual NI. NI starts in April 1st, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't know.
So it starts with this one.
Yeah. But that's what we can do for the next meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be good.
And sorry, I saw on 9:35. I think we should make a call to swap that for the Project Quasar.
Yeah.
Just as a
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Is that won't be enough though?
no, that wouldn't be enough. But I suppose as Dave said, it's all just
Yeah.
made up. Well, not made up numbers.
What I'd
We
like,
can ask the
what I'd like to do,
inspector.
Chair, is put that as an agenda item to your December plans to discuss Project Quasar and how
Have we got any actual prices or quotes from them?
We've got Sergeant Nathan coming in on Thursday morning,
Oh,
and he should be coming in with some. I've asked him if he could come in with some figures, but basically, what we put in, they will use as overtime. There's only Mistley and Manningtree that are currently doing it. We did do it here, didn't we? And I think we put
We were the first
£5,000. We were the first ones to do it.
Could we put a call into both those councils and find out how they get along with it?
Yeah, sure.
And who were they?
Mistley and Manningtree is my
Because if
understanding.
they say, "Oh, it's not worth it," then
have we profiled what we think we want though?
Well, that's another conversation. That so we do need to think about what we want that overtime to be spent
I
on.
think the sergeant had some good ideas about when you do, when you don't need it. things like that.
Yeah.
And he was, so they've been, I'm sorry, I'm preempting your meeting here, I do apologise, but they've been quite productive in going around in the last few weeks at certain times. I mean, I've seen them outside at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
but their resources are not infinite, aren't they?
Oh.
And,
Well, we've definitely gone up in their category when they're arriving and going because I've seen the police car parked on the Hard the other day.
there you go.
Having spoken to a policeman in a police car the other night when we left the YMCA, my husband said, "Oh, we never see police in town," and the comment was, "Since the meeting with the council, you will be surprised how often we are here." And then Julie and I turned up and we said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Nathan." So we met the PC Nathan. But yeah,
Sergeant.
Huh? Sergeant Nathan, sorry. But yeah, he said you'll be surprised how often they do.
Well, that last time. We tried to get him to come to the council meeting, but he was...
And we were due to meet yesterday morning with him, but he cried off, so we've asked for an update on report.
Oh, I'll talk to Julie and see if we can...
Well, we've already emailed him yesterday.
Okay,
so
well, Thursday may not happen then. But he's aware of what we want to do, very much. He's there to give us advice.
Yeah, he needs to give us
He's
the
very,
prices.
very productive.
Because he was meant to give us these prices 2 months ago.
Because I don't know what.
Yeah, and he was
overtime
going to
for police
re-ask
could be
for
quite
that.
expensive.
The trouble is that there is another department, I think Kate went through this, there is another department in Clacton Police Station that does this. So he's got to go to that department with his
Or-
clipboard.
We email Ella then,
Yeah.
because if he's not getting anywhere with it
I think
internally,
that's a better thing.
she's the boss of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So all we
We'll
need
get
is
the
to know
police report.
roughly what we'll get for 5 and 10 grand.
Well, in mind, I mean, this is very crude for us
Mm.
to accept it. He's
Yeah.
got what answers. I thought before the next meeting it could sort of round robin, and then whoever's got more information on the subject, we know, start putting justification alongside it, and then
I think
Right,
it's a
next
good,
time.
good thing, it starts a conversation, doesn't it?
next time round we can start to get close to the finance.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's our deadline to get it sorted?
But
It'll be sometime in January, but it may be that we need to call a finance meeting and an extraordinary council
But it-
meeting to.
But in experience, Tracy, whenever we've done that, it's always run late and we're always on our back foot. It'd be much better for the chair of finance to have this finished by the first week of January, ready to go.
I think the next meeting we should be well on.
Yeah.
Just a few refinements, and for example, if you know more about the police
Yeah.
costs,
Just input to
so-
you.
and just input them. So we'll start sending circulating things as time goes on. I mean, tendering, they've got to confirm whether they're in LCTS.
They don't always know that until the last minute, or
And we
even when
could
you
also
put
ask them
the
what their
precept
intentions
in.
are about the car parking charge.
Because this year we put the precept request in, then they told us the LCTS grant was still being awarded, but I haven't heard anything. I'll ask Tendring.
That might have been the agenda item.
So
Sorry, I'm just going to say that might have been an agenda item at Cabinet with some of it. So I'll bring my agenda in a minute. Look.
So are you happy if that's the process?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lovely.
well, that's a good way forward.
Okay. Any other business?
Last year, our esteemed public.
I'm happy to do that. Shall we invite questions from the floor?
Yes, regarding dispensation for councillors. If I read your standing orders correctly, if a councillor is given dispensation, then members of the public can speak.
Say that again, sorry.
If you're granted dispensation and you stay in the meeting, then members of the public are allowed to speak.
It's in our sentence.
See your standing orders.
Right, okay.
So how does that mean a member of the public can speak during the whole meeting? Or does that mean only the part that the councillor's got dispensation for?
Or are we saying there's standing orders? Come back to you on that one.
I was going to say thanks for the question. I think we need to get this right because it's caused a little bit of grief in the past. So we've got to get it absolutely right.
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer to that right now. We need to investigate that.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, well, on that sort of subject, you're talking about stopping the public from asking questions. That is in your standing orders, that the public can ask questions.
Okay, well,
No,
You're asking for them in writing.
Got in.
So it won't be very good if you suddenly start changing your standing orders to suit your little whims, shall we say.
We put the letter out requesting public to put in their question in writing because we thought it would help us. Personally, and this is me speaking, it's not council speaking. I'm not so sure it's worked as well as what we thought it would do. And at the last council meeting, I actually said that. And I said, you know, it's great if you do put your question in because it gives us more time to answer it in a better way, more thoroughly. And for instance, the speed has proved that because the question came in writing and we were able to act and we were able to talk to agencies ahead of giving what we felt was a decent answer. I don't think we'll ever stop saying you cannot ask questions in the public forum. I would bear on not to say that.
I would think if you do that, you'll have public won't bother turn up.
Exactly, and I think
Perhaps that's what you want.
well, no, because I think what we've seen in the last 18 months and increase the public.
We've worked hard to do that.
You have, well done.
We have as well.
Marketing department.
No, but we have worked on
We've worked very hard on the transparency.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So I don't think you want to do anything that's going to discourage people.
No, I think it was a.
Well, like,
It was an idea that was.
I thought it was on the advice from the monitoring officer.
It was not the advice of the monitoring officer. She thought that the way that we operated by public questions was incorrect. So we took that advice and we tried it. We may not be following the advice to the letter.
But surely, John, it's an advisable thing
It's
to write
advisable.
a question in, because then you might get a more informative answer, because then you can actually debate the facts, but not to stop general questions.
And I think also
Yeah.
when I came back on the last council, I did sort of try and drum into people that if you write in,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
a lot of time to be able to put the information,
That's
the
right.
pure information there.
I agree with that entirely. Someone's got a real compelling question.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
very quickly.
But-
Isn't it? You can.
The other problem is if you're in the meeting discussing something, we can't ask a question about it.
No.
And by then, it's gone into the minutes, you've approved
It's
it, done job.
Can
There's
I-
no discussion on it.
I can give you a bit of background to this because I've been involved in this before. One of the reasons this is done, particularly at that level, is to stop
Stop
political arguments.
Yeah.
So you've been here
Yeah.
when members of the public have had a go at somebody about their
If
politics.
the chairman can stop them, can't he?
I know, and I think that.
Don't allow a debate.
Yeah, I think that's what it, because that's why Tenbury do it, and that's why they do it in other places.
We haven't got hundreds of people who are asking questions,
No.
so the meeting's not going to go on for hours, is it?
I think another system I've seen in somewhere else is where you're only allowed to ask questions that are on subjects on the agenda. Do you think that's acceptable?
Yeah, that's it.
Because I think that's because we don't want to get into this when I remember that incident where the lady got very emotional about
Yeah.
Alec Godkin, wasn't it? I mean, it was got nothing to do with
No,
this
no,
council
it's
at
just
all.
a-
It took up hours.
Yeah, that's up to a strong chairman to tell her that it's not a debate.
Yeah, I'd be uneasy.
But if you what you're really saying, you're restricting what can be
I-
discussed.
Yes, I think I'd be uneasy saying you can only ask questions related to that agenda because,
Well, without writing them in.
again, I would want to have that flexibility. I think writing them in gives you priority
Yeah.
and a better answer,
Yes.
personally.
You will get it back.
But I think if someone asks an inappropriate question, we just say we can't answer that
No,
question
that's right.
because I think the chair should be directing, and he does.
Yeah.
He directs the answer to come from a particular person, and I think the chair controls that. And I think we just need to
Well,
make sure.
maybe we should give certain. I don't know this, but guidance. We should write guidance for people who are chairing.
Well,
that
maybe
what is-
maybe guidance on the agenda as well.
The guidance is there from the ALC. They do this very good thing where you come out of it with a gavel.
Yeah.
It's in your standard
We
orders.
could have a reminding people.
We do.
On
On the information to visitors.
reading it.
But it's in your standard orders. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
It's a question, and it's not a question and answer.
Yeah.
But I don't think, a straight answer, Dave, is I would hate us to try and suppress any member of the public asking a decent question. It's very uncomfortable if you've got somebody ranting.
Oh
Yeah, that's different.
That's different.
That's
I mean,
not
you
fine.
understand.
That's not playing the game, is it? I mean,
But you know that council's made a mistake, and I won't go into what happened at the Victoria Cafe, but that was important that I asked that question that
Of course it
night.
was. Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable,
Yeah. But
No,
it was
no,
asked, wasn't it?
but you could have go back to. This isn't a debate, but you could go back to having maybe a surgery 3 times a year, like they used to have a surgery here, but that was probably too often. I'm lucky because I can go and see counsellors here. I do, I turn up and not to ask. Obviously, Mr. Bailey told me about
Perhaps
it.
could the mayor compile
But
a response? No, well,
I think I will actually. So I think
No, the most
yeah.
operandi, I don't think.
Maybe we'll put something on the bottom of the information for visitors, Tracy, for the November council meeting. We'll do something like that. And I think on the November council meeting, I might just elaborate a little bit more before I ask or invite questions.
Can I just ask a question about the
heritage key, you can go away and come back to me on this. You say in the minutes that that was deregistered by mistake, okay? But if you get it re-registered, are you going to seek compensation from the land registry if it's their mistake?
That we don't know.
No.
Until we don't know, because we can't answer that. Until land registry come back and tell us,
That's what I'm trying
we
to.
don't know.
No, that's right. And the part two of the thing really is you've got the heritage key. Yeah, you want to put the hammerhead on. What happens if it stays as it is? Have you sort of talked about, if it does stay as it is, about the financial position of the key? I'm not saying it's sort of that sort of thing that.
I'll be honest with you, that, I know where you're coming from, but I would hesitate to even try and give you an answer.
I'm not for or
Because
against that
that's,
thing.
I know that, I understand. But the strategic bit on that is just too new,
Yeah.
it's too...
I think Rick wants to
You didn't want me to just ask it that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We believe we have sent in some very powerful documents to improve our position, and we have history on our side. But obviously we now wait for, they have the top lawyer at Land Registry looking at it right now, and we expect an answer probably within the next month or 6 weeks. And I think until we get that answer, we probably can't make too many decisions about the heritage pier until that's done. But we are hopeful that
You didn't want me to just put
No,
it
I
there,
welcome it. And, it's for the benefit of everybody in Brighton. So
we don't know what that answer's going to be.
No, I really
Well, just pick up that point. I think the other thing that seems to get into this argument, publicly anyway, is them and us.
Yeah.
We are putting this into the public realm.
Yes.
This will be owned by everybody. It gets into the state where it sounds as if we're doing in fact, I was accused of land grab.
We're protecting it.
If some of that is, but hang on, I'm putting it into public ownership.
It's a bit like the opposite of what happened with Sindri Island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where we lost part of that, and that's not in the public domain anymore, public realm anymore. That's now owned by an individual
There is a
who
system.
can do what he wants with it.
If we don't register it, it's open for somebody else to.
But often talking to councillors in the street or whatever, you just give me the background. I don't know, say about Springmead. You gave me the background of it. That's all I wanted to know. I didn't want to go into too much depth about what you're going to do, because people say, well, what is this? But I'll get off the thing. I could be all day. I've had a couple of things. So it's fine.
I suppose that goes back to Part B meetings though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We never hear an outcome of a Part B meeting.
We don't have as many of them now.
You can read the minutes.
Yeah, we do.
We don't get minutes on a Part B though, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, you did
Yes,
for
you
some.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Is there more questions?
No, thank you very much.
Any more questions?
No.
We've done enough.
Yeah, that's done.
Right.
Declare the meeting finished at 11:20.
Very good. Well done.
Because then there's no misunderstanding with these things. That's the key to it. If you, otherwise, I know